Okay, we're live. Hi, welcome, Liz. Welcome, Swati. So, thank you,
Chris.
Swati, for designing. Hi, welcome. And thank you for joining us from UAE, Dubai. I know a lot is happening there and you're still able to take out time. So, thank you so much. And we hope and pray that all of you are safe and sound there.
Thank you.
Over to Swati, my co founder and business partner. She's designed this podcast for women leaders. So, over to you, Swati.
Thank you so much, Krish, and hi, Liz. Thank you so much for being there at such times where world is totally looking up to UAE, and we're only on news channels looking for your safety. So I hope things are better there, and things go better there. In fact,
Thank you, Krish.
so
Thank you, Swati. Everything is okay here. All is well, given the circumstance, and we are also hoping that everything goes back to normal very soon. So, but thank you for having me in this podcast. Absolutely a pleasure.
thank you so much, Liz.
Welcome.
So, to tell you all, Liz Netto has been living in Dubai for over 30 years. She's married with two beautiful children. Uh, Her career lands up in a talent acquisition space with over 2 decades of experience into the industry. She recently opened up her own advisory firm, RUWA Advisory, which focuses on career enhancement for youth, women, and corporate professionals. So, Liz, we're all ears and we want to listen up to your journey, which you've had. I really want you to inspire people who all are listening to us today and would listen to this podcast later on also. So over to you, Liz. We are really interested to know your journey from your own mouth.
So we also have Ahmed Abdullah. He's the first secretary at the Embassy of the Kingdom of Bahrain in Seoul, posted in Seoul, and a very dear friend. He's joined us. So thank you, Ahmed, for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Krish. Thank you, Swati, for that amazing introduction. It feels so good to hear that when somebody else is introducing you. So, my story. So, I've been in this beautiful country. I'm originally from India, from Kerala, but I've been here in the UAE for more than 30 years now. And I do have to say, I fell into recruitment and talent acquisition right after my university. And I think I fell in love with it because um, I have realized that I'm more like a people's person. I love interacting with people, and more than that, I love listening to their stories. So, talent acquisition is all about understanding somebody's stories, their aspirations, and their ambitions. So, that is how I came into this world of talent acquisition, and a good almost 20 years of it in this industry. And it was going really great. It was a good leadership path. I was in a managerial position with a leading AI company, that too in the UAE. So the leadership path was great, but what I realized was that 20 years is a long time for you to be doing something where you're constantly moving, constantly building, constantly firefighting, for all the right reasons. And I also realized that it was without a pause in between, a pause for you to self reflect, for you to take a step back and see for yourself what is it that you really wanted to do. So I still remember I was holidaying with my family in Bali, and it was at that time this very quiet thought, when I was in a fully zen mode, a quiet thought came to me was, Liz, what if you build something on your own, even if it's something small? But what if you build something on your own, because you've seen the corporate side, you have that experience. Of course, you're not an expert, but you've been there, done that. It's been 20 years, but you I felt like I needed to have that little experience of being an entrepreneur and building something on my own and seeing how I'm able to nurture and grow it. So that's when the
Lovely.
thought came in, and this was around a year back. And the most beautiful part was that my family supported me from the word go. And the next step was to take action, and I took action, and I started my advisory to to experience being a builder, being an entrepreneur, doing something on your own. And believe me, guys, it doesn't feel like I was walking away from my leadership path. I just felt like it was an extension of me, like, learning something new, learning something different, and using that also as part of my experience and my own career journey.
Mhm. Right. That's amazing, Liz. That's really inspiring. So I must go on this vacation to Bali very soon to have my own realization moment,
Highly
because that,
recommend.
that's actually important to spend time with yourself and to frame out your own life and your own progress story, isn't it?
Highly recommended. Be it Bali, be it in a remote place in India or wherever it is. It's, I think, end of the day, it comes down to you being with yourself, like exactly what you said, and having a moment to step back from the noise,
Absolutely.
and that time your mind speaks to you. And I just followed through with that thought. And here we are.
Lovely. So, Liz, behind this purposeful journey that you had so far, I'm sure there would be certain challenges, certain setbacks, or those phases where you were feeling, you were probably doubting on your own self that tested your belief. So, what you did and how you did to navigate through it?
Okay, this is it's a lovely question, because when I started this journey, a lot of people came to me, they were congratulating me, and they were saying that, they're so jealous of the fact that I've started something on my own. And to every one of them, I told them the same thing. Guys, it's not easy. Like, it looks very glamorous from the
It
outside.
does.
Oh, somebody is starting something on their
Especially
own.
you know the fact that you are your own boss now.
Exactly, you're your own boss, you don't have to report to anybody, and lot of money must be coming in. Those are the it's only natural for people to think that way. So I do have to say that, right after I stepped out of a very steady a leadership type of a role, a full-time role, and when I stepped into the shoes of a full-time entrepreneur, that's when reality hit me that earlier I was managing a team. I had a lot of people who I could delegate work to. The minute you step into the shoes of an entrepreneur, it's you on your own. You have to do everything yourself, and you have
Right.
only you to count on. And when that reality hits, that's when the doubts, the self doubt, the guilt tripping, and anxiety and everything kicks in. And again, this is a very natural human moment, right? So all of that came to me, and I was like, did I do the right thing? Did I get ahead of myself? And all those thoughts, the self doubt thoughts, started creeping in. And it was also about, I was doubting. You even doubt your capabilities at that point of time. And
Absolutely.
it happens because you get so overwhelmed. To answer your question, how did I navigate through? Because I'm still, I would say, still on that journey of navigating through it, but I think, fortunately, I'm past the most difficult part. So how I
Lovely.
did that was, I would have to say, it's two things. One, it's my support system. I have a fantastic environment. My husband, my children, my family, and my very close friends, and some amazing mentors who has been part of my journey. And they are a source of motivation, and they're a source of inspiration also, I have to say. And when they see you going a bit down, or when I'm able to open up to them, everybody said the same thing, that you need to keep moving. You still have to experiment and complete the task that you set yourself up for. So I think that really really helped. It's great to have that support function or support system. But more than that, the second point is, I started training my mind to regulate itself. And this is for everybody or anybody who does not have a support system, because everybody has their own journey. There could be people who do
Right.
not have a support system. To those, I would have to say your biggest enemy and your greatest source of strength is yourself. So I started training my mind to regulate itself, and that's with a lot of mindful um, habits and routines, like breathing exercises or meditation or journaling or whatever works for you, fitness, going out, or whatever it is. When you tell yourself that you're okay, you're safe, and you've taken a decision, let's follow through, try to the best of your capabilities. And even if it doesn't work out, it is okay. You can still move on and do something else. So instead of being in a fear based environment, I changed it into more like, okay, Liz, what is in your control today? And what can you manage? What is that one decision that you can take today which will help you to move forward? Take that, and you will be okay. So I think these were the two things that really helped me to navigate through all that self doubt, and it is still helping me.
That's really meaningful, Liz. And I really loved it when you said that you are your own greatest friend, and that's so true. So yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Chris, you want to share something over here?
No, it's as an entrepreneur, when you move out of the corporate world and start, that is such an important decision, and it's like jumping off a cliff, right? There is no parachute that you're going to land, so it's just taking that leap of faith. That's what I mean by jumping off. So congrats. And then along the journey, am I going to land, what am I going to hit, all those things come up. And it's good to see you grapple with that, navigate, and then say that, okay, let me come to today, the present moment, and pick up and do that one thing that I need to do today and be at it. So awesome.
Great,
Precisely that, yeah.
great, Liz. And I'm really already inspired by you. Okay, let's go on to this conversation. So, Liz, you've contributed to many large scale talent strategies, and you must have had various achievements and glories in your lifetime. So, which achievement feels most meaningful to you, not just professionally, but personally as well? And tell me why.
There are a lot of projects that I've been a part of, but one that is very very close to me, and I'm sure, and I think you will understand why when I tell you this little story. So when the entire world went through the global pandemic of COVID, at that point of time, I was heading a project where we had to hire more than 100 healthcare professionals. And I'm talking about doctors, nurses, medical lab technicians, and all the support functions of that. And this was, I was working with a company, and we were collaborating, or we were supporting the UAE's health authorities to do this, because it was part of the country's fight of the pandemic, of UAE's fight of the pandemic. And a couple of things to note here is that I've never hired for the healthcare industry before that. And one of the greatest experiences during that time was that pivot of learning on the go, where you just leave everything, you know that this is the need of the hour, and you learn on the go. And it became a very successful project. And for me, why it's so close to me is because my mom is a nurse. So she is from the healthcare industry herself. But for me to lead that project during that time felt like I was not just recruiting, but I was part of something much bigger than that, because the world was going through that, and I was part of UAE's initiative of fighting the pandemic. So it meant, like, every role mattered. Every person I was hiring, every person and role mattered. And for me, I felt like I was contributing to that greater initiative. So that project stays very close to my heart till now, along with a lot of other. But I think this one takes the cake.
Wow. I'm sure the way you were explaining it and the way I was actually kind of viewing it inside my own mind when you were telling the story, I'm sure it was for a noble cause and it was for such a bigger purpose that you were doing this thing for. Great.
Exactly that. And remember, all of us were working from home, and that was the first time I mean, for me, it was the first time I was working from home. And so it's just like we are never ready for anything. Life is so uncertain where pivots could happen anytime, but it is how you are in the moment, and you roll up your sleeves and you do what you need to do to keep moving on. So that experience was like a reality check, and I came out of it being more humble, and I would say with a lot of experience that I could use for the rest of my career. So that's why it means a lot to me.
Lovely. Lovely. So, Liz, when I'm listening to you, I actually have one more question, which comes out of my own curiosity. So, now that you've experienced both sides of the world, the corporate world and an entrepreneurial world where you are doing things yourself, growing up your own company, it's like nurturing your own baby. So, what's the difference between the two? And if you have to just tell me one goods and one bads of both the worlds, what would it be?
So if I'm thinking of the corporate life, when you talk about the corporate life, the good is definitely the stability and the certainty around it, right? You know that there is a paycheck at the end of the month, and I'm talking in a very realistic sense. I'm
Yes,
sure
yes, you
whoever
are
is
right.
listening to this would understand that there is certainty to it. So for all the work that you're putting into, all the efforts that you're putting into, that end of the day there is a stable income or whatsoever that is coming in. And I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but a challenging thing could be the ownership of your role might not be with you at all times, right? So that lack of control over what you could do when you're working in a corporate or for somebody else, that is always there. You might want to do things in your own way and get some results out of it, but then when you're in a corporate, there are set rules, regulations, there's a hierarchy, there are things that you should follow. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like sometimes you lose sense of control and you might have to follow what is written out for you. So that
Hmm.
I feel like it's a challenge. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I'm still learning. But what I can say is the good thing is, um, I would say, you being your own boss, in its perfect sense, right? Like you have control over things, and you then face the consequences of whatever decisions that you take. So, and in your own time. So I think that flexibility of having things done in your own way and own time, that is definitely something that I am enjoying at this moment. The challenge definitely is the uncertainty around things, because when you have your own business, then everything around, all the external factors that could happen, the current situation is an example that I can give you. So our business is affected based on external factors, so there is an uncertainty around being in your own business. So that's what I have observed so far. I'm sure there's still a lot more to learn on the go, but this is what I can tell you from now.
Right. I totally understand it. That the moment we decided to start up our own company, we had endless questions and anxiety. But then, yes, we thought, let's take it up one by one, and let's start moving in the direction that we can see clearly, and let's just do it, isn't it, Chris?
Absolutely. One day, even we had a conversation. Are we really moving ahead? Shall we just close it down? And and then she looks at me and said, "What are you talking?" I mean, this is not something I want to hear at all. And we had that conversation. We said, no, no, check it all. Let's just be at it every day. And yeah, it's that's what it is. I think being an entrepreneur keeps one also in the present moment. And in
Yes.
corporate, there is a lot of support and shield around you, protection around you. And here you're jumping with your own parachute, sometimes without a parachute. So yeah, it's good to be there, and it I think it makes one stronger. I also believe that building a business is as an entrepreneur is an expression of one's own personality, and it's an expression of what was otherwise which you may not have done in the corporate. This gives us the opportunity to express ourselves, to be completely natural and be in the present moment, un- unhindered or unfettered by any obstacle. So yeah, over to you, Swati.
Thanks, Krish. And you're so right. Yes, we are still in that creation of lovely projects and greater things. So great, Liz. It was really nice listening up. Now I have one last question, and take it as an advice which you are going to give to our audience. So, especially for women, who are trying to grow with confidence, with purpose, just tell them two lessons which you think or which you wish more people understood earlier in their career. So, what would be those two lessons which you think you can actually tell them, tell these women who are aspiring for greater growth and have bigger growth aspirations? So, what do you think those two lessons would be?
Fantastic question, Swati. You're making me think now on the go. So I would say one of the things that Krish just mentioned, I'm going to piggyback on that, which is about, this is the women who is either looking to pivot in their career or start something on their own, or who's taken a break and who wants to come back into the workforce, or in fact, to anybody for that matter, for youth or professionals, for anybody for that matter. But since we are talking to women, I would say there's never a perfect time that you are absolutely ready for something, right? Perfect conditions, 100% readiness, all those things, I would say it's an illusion, because there would always be something that you can make better, right, before you start something. So from my own experience, lived experience, what I can say is just start, you know cut right to action. Just start, and then you learn on the go. Clarity, confidence, perfect conditions, all of those things would follow. It would follow from your experience, from your action, during the journey. So this is something I wish somebody had told me, because although I did follow through my thought when I had that thought a year back, I still sat on it for few months. Now I feel like I should have started right away, because I was waiting for the perfect conditions. So this is what one of the things that I would say. If you're thinking of something, just do it, and then all the experiences, clarity, confidence, everything will follow through. The other thing, which is as equally important, is, all of us, especially people in career, we rely too much on our technical skills, right? Which we all have. It could be from our education, natural skills, or whatever you or acquired skills, or whatever you want to call it. But it's as important, is how you show up. And what I mean by that is, invest in your communication, invest in networking, building relationships, talking to as many people as possible, and building as many relationships as possible, like having an active networking kind of a lifestyle. Investing in your communication, in your presentation, learning about the modern trends that is happening. I know everybody's talking about AI. It's so cliched right now, but it's not about cliche. It's about being with the trends, speaking the language of the current. So keeping yourself updated, networking, building a community, how you show up is as important as your technical skills. I feel that a lot of people only rely on technical skills and they just feel like they should just keep growing in that sense. But you can accelerate your career, your growth, and your life by investing in yourself in all these matters. So I think these are a couple of things that I would want to, if uh, audience, like, if women or youth or whoever is looking to start something on their own, or even to pivot in their career or grow in their career, this is what I would tell them.
Lovely. I totally second you in this. In fact, during our conversation in these corporate environment, I always say that you know your stuff well, and I'm not here to teach you any of it, so don't worry about it. I'm only going to tell you what you can do to make your presence being felt wherever that you are going. And that's exactly what I understood when you say show up.
100%, 100%. It's about how you show up, and it's about investing in yourself, right? End of the day, you're bettering yourself, and that's not just helpful in your professional life, but also in your personal life. You nurture the environment around you. So I do feel it's very important.
So I'm going to ask you one last question, short one. What is that single decision you think you have taken that has made a big shift in you managing this whole journey?
I would have to say getting help. So what I mean by that is, I just to explain it a bit further. So I got myself a coach or a mentor, during the time I was having going through the self doubt, and when I'm navigating all these difficult thoughts and everything. Your family can definitely support you, because they will support you no matter what. But to when I took help from an experienced mentor, a coach, they were able to give information, or able to help me navigate through the more intricate part of my decision making, be it in my from my entrepreneurial point of view. So earlier I wouldn't have taken help, because I rely too much on myself, and I put a lot of pressure on myself um, to be better or to perform or whatsoever. So taking help always seemed like a weakness to me some time ago. But then I think we have to use our resources. If we have the privilege to take help and use our resources to become better, you should do it. And that is one decision that I think I'm very proud of, that I did take help, because it did help me to navigate some of these difficult points and reach where I am right now. So, Krish, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Yes.
So, yes, so with this, here we come to the end of this conversation, which I really want to take further in our personal calls later on with you, Liz. However, if any one of our audiences has any questions from Liz, or wants to interact about the industry, wants to understand about the industry, I would definitely be tagging you in the comments. Your link of access would be tagged in the comments, so anyone can contact you, and probably that could be helpful for many. So thank you so much, Liz. Thank you so much, Krishna, for being there in this podcast today. It was truly a learning experience for me and was very, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Liz, for taking out time from your busy schedule, and being here means a lot to V3 Nova.
No, no,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Krish. Thank you, Swati, for inviting me. Great questions made me think, go a little bit deep into my thoughts and come back with those answers. So I really enjoyed it. And I wish V3 Noah all the best in everything that you're doing. Yeah, thank you very much once again.
Thank you. And we are looking to collaborate with you for the Middle East and the UAE market. So all the best. Thank you so much.
Absolutely excited for that.
Cheers. Thank you.